Why is recording off? Hi. So we're live and good morning, everyone. Here we are on LinkedIn and hopefully on Facebook also. I'm Kimberly Adams Tufts, and I'm a certified women's health nurse practitioner and life and as well as health coach. And I'm so glad to be here with you today. And if you're looking for movement to better health, you're in the right place. And I am here with Tosh Harden, and this is a wonderful thing. Truly, truly wonderful to have Tosh with us because Tosh is the founder of Tosh Co. And she helps busy women to get healthy and fit in 6 months. And I was truly impressed when I saw something that Tosh did, something she posted about a woman named Deirdre who uh, dropped 30 pounds in 75 days. But Tosh talked about that we often talk about strategy, how often we have to do things or what we do, what exact type of movement we do, and such. And the interesting thing about that is Tosh said we focused with Deirdre on one strategy, and it was a mental shift. The shift was helping Deirdre decide to focus on keeping promises to herself. So when I saw that, I said, Tosh Harding is someone I want to talk to and to have come and share with me, have a wonderful conversation with me, and share her expertise with the folks that I know. So this is exciting. I looked over at LinkedIn, you all. So if you see me looking to the side, that's because, we don't have a full interface between StreamYard, the streaming platform, and LinkedIn yet. So if you're here and you're putting up some comments and such, I want to be able to see them. So that's why you see me looking to the side. And there's a slight delay too between the StreamYard and what's being said on LinkedIn. But I'm looking to the side for your comments, questions, and such, and want to get started. So, and in the event invitation, if you want to see the story about Deirdre, you can see it. There's a link there. And I'm going to see if I look for it in a minute. I'll probably drop it here. And so, once again, we're here for Movement to Better Health. And you all may remember that we had a poll. We wanted to get your input. So we polled a couple of groups. We polled LinkedIn in general, and we polled the nurse entrepreneurship group, the nurse entrepreneurs group, and we found out what your top questions were. And so they were, how often should we move? What type of movement should we do? And then the number one was, what are the top 3 tips for moving? And so we're going to address those today because you gave us your input and the people have spoken. And we want to make sure that we have a conversation around those things. And I'm kind of really looking forward to it because, Tosh is a busy woman. She is the new mom of an infant baby girl, and she still is able to create the life that she would like and help her clients to uh, focus on the movement that they need and to create the life that they want. So being here with me today is such a gift, Tosh, and I want to thank you for taking out time out of your, really full day to be with us.
No problem. Thank you. And I want to say thank you for inviting me as well, Kimberly. I'm super excited to be here. I think it's always such a great experience to be able to join someone and speaking about something that, I enjoy so much. So the fact that you were interested in inviting me is just amazing to me. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So let's get into the discussion. And so I guess we can start with the first question: is how often should we move?
That is a great question. I believe I told you that I was really excited to see that on the poll, that was one of the questions everyone kind of asked about because I love sharing that with people just because there's so many people that are on different levels. So I say the answer isn't super simple because everyone's at a different place. So it really depends on where you are as far as your fitness journey, your health journey, Like maybe you're over here closer to a 1, maybe you're closer over here to a 10. So as far as how often you should move, let's say you're more of in the beginner stage, or maybe you have more of a sedentary job or day. So for you, I'd say just getting up 5 to 10 minutes of active movement during the day will be great for you, because that's a start. What's super, super important is starting. You have to start somewhere. So even if that's just going outside, moving around, doing some little movements around the house, but just intentional movement for 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, you can start to add it up and start moving more the more comfortable you get and the stronger you get and the more energy you get. But if you're closer over to an 8 or so, maybe you already have some different physical activity habits in. So maybe you move a little bit more. It may be a little bit easier for you to get more of, I'd say 30 to maybe even an hour of intentional movement. But also the movement that you do throughout the day counts as well. And so I want everyone to remember that too. So when you are getting up to use the restroom, when you are getting up to go and prepare a meal, all of those steps count. I do a step goal for each one of my clients. And sometimes they'll tell me, hey, Coach Tosh, I see that you listed a 8,000 step goal for me for the day. It's really hard for me to do that. And they're like, I can't get in 8,000 intentional steps because of this or because of that. And I have to remind them, I'm almost certain that you did, because you tell me about how active you are during the day and how much movement you do. All of that counts as movement and steps as well. So all of the intentional movement as well as that can go into your 5 to 10 minutes a day, or even 30 minutes to an hour per day, depending on where you are.
Wonderful, wonderful. And when you say you just get started, I know for myself and for others how important that is. And you talked about someone being on the continuum, and we're all on the continuum at different places at different times in our life, would you say? And I had a client who some years ago, and I was fairly new, about 15 years ago, who had some health problems that surfaced. And so I suggested that she move more, and suggested walking. Most people can get started with a walking, and it's all kinds of benefits to it, and put you outside. It particularly can put you outside, which is great. And she told me, she told me that you told me to walk, and I checked in with her a few weeks later, and she said, I'll have to be honest with you, I had to pray. She said, I wasn't used to any activity really at all, much movement at all. She had a sedentary job. And she said, but I said to myself, if I go out 5 minutes and I walk somewhere 5 minutes out, and then I walk 5 minutes back, that's 10 minutes. So I prayed and I did that. And, and I probably said, try to get 20 minutes in or something like that, in my inexperience at that time. And so she shared that with me, and it has stuck with me. And she went on and she started with the 5 minutes or 10 minutes total. And she had some weight to lose. She was probably about 100 pounds or more overweight. And with making some small, incremental, consistent changes like that, over time, she lost over 70 pounds. And she grew to be a person who walked more like 30 minutes to 40 minutes a few times, like 4 or 5 times a week, and really enjoyed it. She said it did more than just the weight loss. It did something for her mental, emotional self and mental self also. But I always remembered that after that, I started saying, people, if you just start with 5 minutes. So the getting started, I thank you for sharing that with us. Getting started, how often is based on where we are, right, in our movement journey.
No problem. And I'm super excited to hear that. I'm always looking to hear, stories of people, getting up and moving, and then their, success that they receive from that. So I'm super proud of her. And I always tell everyone that walking is actually the best type of exercise that you can do, because it's a type of exercise that almost, not everyone, but almost everyone can do. So I truly believe that it's the best form of exercise out there and best movement.
Well, thank you. So I guess we can start with the first question is, how often, now that was a little glitch, you all. I hit a play button because something happened to our live. So we were just discussing, how often we should move. And we talked about moving in different ways and a different frequency based on where we are on that continuum. So thank you for that. And then also, um, Tosh reinforced, we were just getting ready to talk about what type of movement should we do. And so Tosh had moved into talking about walking as a form of movement. And I'm looking to the side. I see Anne. I see Anne is here. And hi, Anne. Where are you signing in from? Let us know where you're coming in from. And thank you for coming to the live today. It's so great that you're here and it's good to see you. So I really appreciate that. And so, any other types of movement that you
Yes.
would suggest for us, Tosh?
Yes, I do. So for sure, as far as what types of movement to do, there's obviously a large amount of different movements we can do, but sometimes I feel like we kind of forget what actually counts as movement. So
Okay.
we have these, bones, we have joints, we're made to move. And in order to keep these things healthy, we should get them move. And so even if I like to use the desk example because lots of us sit at a desk every day. I know that I do. Some people are sometimes shocked when they hear that, but I actually spend more time at my desk than I do in the gym. And I know it's like, oh, you're a fitness coach, but actually I sit here more doing computer work. But sometimes you have to remember that you can do different mobility work just sitting. So if you're using a mouse a lot, a
Mhm.
good thing to do is rotating your wrists, rotating your ankles, getting up and stretching. Stretching is also a really, really great and one of the most beneficial things that you can do is stretching. Sometimes we forget that you don't have to stretch just to work out if you work out. I hear people tell me all the time that, oh no, I've never really just incorporated stretching into my movement and my activity because I don't work out. Well, you don't have to have a consistent workout regimen to stretch. You should stretch. You should get up every day and stretch at least once to twice per day, just to get that movement in. So I'd say walking is great. Doing things like I said, twisting your wrists, your ankles, even using a yoga ball, like a stability ball to sit on in
Mhm.
place of your chair. That would be a great thing to do because that counts as movement. You have to keep your posture straight. You kind of can rotate in circles. You can move side to side. It's something different versus just sitting in the chair. So there's so many different simple things that you can implement, as well as having some sort of daily regimen of moving as well that can consist of course, other things like walking, then running, and other advanced things as well.
Wow, thanks for that. And Anne says she's weighing in and saying, yes, getting started, that's the hardest part, right? And
For sure.
so you've given us some great tips, and she's coming in from Alexandria. And so we're glad to see her there. And the thing about that is, when you said, we're saying what type of movement, you mentioned a couple things I just kind of want to highlight and come back to because, boy, thank you for this and that approach to getting started wherever you are on on the continuum of movement, and also thinking about movement in different ways. It's not
Mhm.
going out formally and having to do 30 minutes of this or 10 minutes of that or an hour of this. And so I picked up on a couple of things. So you mentioned, movement throughout the day. And so yes, we have the type of work that we do. And so we often sit, and they're, getting up like on our cell phone. We can set it so it helps us to move once a hour or so, or just stand up or go, walk around the room or go to the restroom or whatever. But don't sit for 2, 3, 4 hours at a stretch. And that's can count, and it is great movement. So thank you. And then the other thing that I see is you talked about the ball, and the yoga ball, sitting on it instead of your chair. I want to tell you, Tosh, this is so great that you mentioned that. I knew a school of nursing where they had folks, well, someone in the school had a movement as an area of science, I guess. But people were having trouble from hutching over all day at the computer and everything, and back pain and different kind of ails. They said, well, everyone agreed, this was a school of nursing, we'll take the chairs out of your offices and everyone will get stability balls and yoga balls. And they made them, according to your height and everything, blew them up to
Mhm.
what you needed. So they were right for everyone. And guess what? They published that the back pain and all of that went away. So that kind of incremental, and as you said, you're balancing yourself on the ball. Science also shows us that if we sit all day and we're very sedentary without movement throughout the day, and we are a weekend warrior. We go and hike on the weekend or walk a lot on the weekend or go to the gym or at night, that it's not as beneficial to us as incremental movement all day. And so there's a guy, I forget his name now. He's like the Dr. Oz in the UK. He did some specials on PBS about that, about the goals of incremental throughout the day movement, as you mentioned, and getting up or having a ball or all the different things. And you mentioned stretching. Oh my gosh, stretching every day as much as we can helps older people like myself not to fall, keeps us more
Mhm.
flexible. I've always had a trouble with flexibility myself. I've done other things that I'm pretty good at, cardio and strength training and stuff, but flexibility's been an issue and didn't start focusing on it until about 3 years ago. And now I had a free stretching program on my phone that reminds me if I don't do it, I keep a record. I can't remember how many days of stretching I've done now or how many times. And each stretching exercise is no more than 7 minutes. They're usually around 5. So I do a sleepy time stretching a lot. And sometimes after I walk, there's a post run, but I haven't run, but I do the post run. And most of them are free. You can pay $20 a year, but most of them are free. So stretching, and I now share stretching with my clients. Also, there was a course I took or class, and it was strength training. And they spent a lot of time stretching at the end, and they talked to us about if you really want muscle growth, you want to stretch. So thank you for that. I see that we have a LinkedIn user whose name we can't see, but this person is from Ohio. Hi from
Welcome.
Ohio. Thank you for coming. And we have Leslie Williams who has a question about sitting and movement. So let's see what Leslie Williams' question is. She says, are there desks where you can stand instead of sit? Are the desks where you can stand instead of sit actually beneficial?
Yes, yes, they are. My husband and I have actually talked about investing in those. There's a couple of options. They have the standing desks that rise, and you can bring them to a level that's comfortable for you. That way, you can stand and still work at a comfortable level, as well as they even have ones that you can add walking pads underneath. So you can be walking, using your computer, writing in your book, whatever it may be, and
That's
still be able to walk or stand. Yes, there's so many great options out there. They are really, really beneficial. You're able to stand, have better posture. Sometimes when we sit in a chair all day long, our posture kind of sinks because you're sitting there, you're working, you sink, you sink, you sink. If you're not
okay.
intentional about it and you don't think about it, you will
Okay.
sink all day long and your body will start to ache. Your joints will start to ache. So if you're standing, you kind of avoid that a little bit more just because holding your body up uses a whole lot more strength when you're standing versus sitting. So yes, super beneficial.
And guess what's an added benefit to it? Yeah, I'm sure you know this, and most folks who had them know your core gets stronger.
Hmm.
Your core gets stronger. So, for example, now my light went down because my desk is rising now. I've got a little glitch that when I touch the desk, the light turns off. So the desk is going down now. But for years, I had an accident, a terrible accident. And I see Amber Garrett is with us. And Amber, thanks for coming from Norfolk. She's a local girl. I'm so excited, Amber
Hi.
Garrett, to see you. And Amber knows she's a vocal coach. And she was my vocal coach. And I had a terrible accident. And that's how I came to standing desk.
Wow. And
And
I'm
so
sure
I
that she
have the
was
one
all
that
about
goes down.
posture.
Yes, and it goes up and down. And guess what the benefit to me was? I this one goes, it's electronic, but forever I have the one you just pull up and down, and your core gets stronger.
You're able to breathe better as well, just
Yeah.
like the vocal coach you just mentioned. I'm sure she knows as well. Like we're able to breathe better. That's why we kind of breathe from our diaphragm. We speak from there and we sing from there.
Yes.
And also engaging it is going to make it stronger, like you just mentioned.
So you said we can move throughout the day. When we are talking about what type of movement, we can walk, which most of us can do, almost everyone. We need to stretch, and I remember you told me before about, different stretches we could do by sitting. Can you share
Mhm.
some of that? Because I know you told me about that.
Yes, so such as if you are using a mouse a lot, sometimes I get clients that come into my team and they mention about wrist pain that they have. And it's
Okay.
because your wrist is sitting at an uncomfortable position all day long. And then you start to have shoulder pain and different things
Oh,
like that. So
wow.
you can stretch your arms out and do arm circles while you're sitting at a desk. You don't even have to get up and move from your desk or your standing desk. You can do those circles, go in circles, or do that. Have you ever heard of the alphabet, with your ankles? There's so many
Yes.
things you could do. Spell out the alphabet with your ankles or rotate them in circles. These are simple things that don't take up a lot of our time that you can do honestly while you're still getting work done because it doesn't take much time out of your day at all.
And I just want to thank you for sharing that, reinforcing that movement throughout the day in small, intentional, regular ways can be as beneficial or more than being a weekend warrior.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And
And
the
they add
science
up.
shows that.
I believe you mentioned that a little bit earlier, but we have to remember that each of these movements add up to lots of time hours of movement by the end of the day.
Yes.
Everything that you do counts.
Yes. And step counters, you mentioned that. We can use a watch. We can use our phones. I'll tell you, my son in law, we were somewhere and he said his watch, he was not as happy because he kept saying, well, my steps are not as accurate as the rest of the family because I don't have my, phone on me constantly. And we were like, but Angie, you're getting some great steps.
Mhm.
So it's kind of become a little family thing for us. And, and it's, everyone's at a different level. We're not talking about 10,000 steps a day. We're not talking about that. And in fact, we have new science about that now. So, and it depends on who you are, whether it's 4,000 or 7,000
Mhm.
or whatever. Oh, I see that Leslie has weighed in and she says hello and she has a great comment for us. Let's show Leslie's comment here. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you for joining us. And Leslie is great in the human resources area. So I'm glad to have like a diversity of folks coming to join us today. And here, another Leslie Williams, has a comment about posture. Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah, yeah. So the Leslie Williams you asked too about the standing desk that can help us with that. That
Yes,
can
for
help
sure.
us. Yeah.
As well as the being intentional, like the other Leslie said, even if you don't have a standing desk, that's okay. The more aware you are, the more you will start to have better posture. And after you do that over days and days of that intentional movement and intentional stretching, you'll have less pain as well as making sure that your posture is better. You'll sit up straighter. And it doesn't take long to create a habit. Actually, it takes about 21 days. So after 21 days of incorporating those stretches into your routine, it will be a habit. After 21 days of focusing on better posture while you're sitting or while you're standing, it will almost be like you never, struggled with that before because it will be a part of your actual routine in a short amount of time.
Wow. Thank you for that. So our number one question, we haven't gotten to it. It's what are your top 3 tips for moving?
This is the greatest question that we're going over today. It's so exciting because there's so many things that I could say, and it was kind of like, oh, how am I going to narrow this down into 3? But I did the best I could, and this is what I came up with. My first one is to make it a habit. So I kind of just touched on that a little bit, but there's so many different things that you can do to create a habit. Like I also mentioned, is that every movement throughout the day counts. So by the end of the day, you may have 30 minutes of movement. You may have an hour of movement. May have 2 hours of movement. It does not just have to be active movement. Sometimes we think that, well, if I don't have the time to go outside and walk for 30 minutes, then I don't have time to move. No, yes, you do. There's other things you can do, such as if you have let's say you work in an office building and you have an elevator. Instead of taking the elevator, you could take the stairs. That's intentional movement. If you park in a parking garage somewhere or at the grocery store, you could park further to the back of the parking lot or further to the back of the parking garage and walk further. There's so many different little things that we can do that will get us more movement in throughout the day. You just have to be intentional about it and create that habit. So making it a habit to be trying to move more is my number one tip.
Okay.
And so my number 2 tip would be remember that anything that physically challenges your body in a positive way is movement. I feel like if you kind of get a full understanding of what movement truly is,
Yes.
and then you're aware of what movement really is, you'll be able to incorporate it more throughout the day. And then
Wow.
my third one is to move early and often. And this is probably one of the best ones just because the earlier you get moving, I truly feel the better your day will be. We actually did this with our clients, and my husband and I did it together. He coaches the men on our team, I coach the women. And we encouraged everyone to get up first thing in the morning. And maybe you go brush your teeth, brush your hair, but that's up to you. Maybe not. Maybe you just go straight outside, let the sunlight hit you, do a couple circles, walk around your front yard for 2 or 3 minutes, then come back inside and get ready for the day. Letting that sun hit your skin and being able to walk and to stretch is just such a stress relief. That's also why movement is so important, is because the more we move, we feel so much more relaxed and relieved. So just moving early in the morning, getting that movement started as early as possible, and moving often throughout the day is going to be super, super beneficial for all of us.
So early and often and outside if possible.
Yes,
I saw something on LinkedIn yesterday. Someone was reiterating that how important and not that you have to go out for this big long walk. Uh,
right.
because what you said about that is a double bonus for us from a health perspective and from what we know from the science, Tosh. So you said get outside, right? And
Right.
guess what? What we know about getting outside, yes, it creates movement, but you said you get outside and you get some sunlight. We know it doesn't even have to be bright sunshine. It can be filtered or gray or cloudy.
Mhm.
And the thing that it does, yes, it gets our movement going, but it also helps us to set our circadian rhythms. And so it impacts our sleep. So you giving us that tip is like a double bonus.
Mhm.
So thank you for that. And then I remember you shared with me something about your daughter, about going outside. Can you share that story with us? I thought it was so interesting.
Yes, of course. So I have a 4-month-old daughter. Well, she'll be 4 months tomorrow, actually. And pretty much ever since she was born, maybe about 6 days old, we started taking her outside, and she takes the best naps outside. If she's ever fussy in the house and just feeling a little cranky, immediately, as soon as we step our foot outside, she's relaxed. She's relieved. Once she feels that sunlight, once she feels that fresh air, she's so calm. You don't hear a peep out of her that entire time. She's just taking everything in. She's enjoying the movement, us walking with her, and she's so calm and she's so relaxed. And her best naps are when she's outdoors.
So, as our moms would say, out of the mouth of babes, or out of the body reactions to babes. So the outside and the movement is calming and
Hmm.
such, and good for our mental states and our emotions also. We have a question that I want to address before we close today, in the honor of spirit of honoring everyone's time. It's from Leslie, and she's from Chicago. Now she says specific movement recommendations for people over 40.
Okay, sure. So, of course, it just depends on where you are. People of certain ages, just because you're a certain age doesn't mean that, oh, well, I can only move this much, or oh, I can only move that much. It just depends on the specific person. So, just steady movements that you can start incorporating again is moving early and moving fast. So, being intentional about those movements. So, even if you want to set a timer on your phone, I know lots of people have Apple Watches and Fitbits that have the little standing alarms or
Yeah.
moving alarms. But even if you don't have that, most people have a cell phone. So setting alarm saying 10-minute of movement, you can name it 10-minute of movement. And that can be whatever movement works best for you. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure where you are, but maybe that's walking. Maybe that's using your stability ball. Maybe that's getting some sort of activity in. If you have some home workout equipment that you want to incorporate, it could be any of that. But setting that alarm would be great for anyone because you can set that time to however comfortable you are with being able to move. So whether that be 10 minutes or whether that be 30 minutes, setting those alarms.
Great. Thank you for that. And we also have told, there used to be this thing we tell people you have to move 3 times a week, a minimum 30 minutes a day. And sometimes people can't fit that in. And
Hmm.
so it could be 5 minutes at a time, or it could be 3 times for 10 minutes, or, whatever. And so it's just consistent, regular, intentional movement. I see Johanna from Richmond, and I know her. Hi. And so she says, now as a retiree, getting started is key, but also intentionality. There you are. Thanks for telling us that. And using devices to help. My water aerobics instructor always rocking horses, not rocking chairs. Oh, that's a
I love
great
that.
tip. Thanks for sharing that with us. Yes, and I didn't realize you were retired. That's wonderful. Thanks for coming and joining us. And your tip, so I'm going to point out a few things from your tip. Intentionality, using the devices that we have in our world that can help us. And we want to move. We want rocking horses, not rocking chairs. And I love that rocking horse movement in water aerobics. Haven't done water aerobics since the pandemic, but that used to be a fabulous thing to do. And people
Great
of
source
all
of
ages.
movement.
Yes. And Leslie says, thank you. Your approach makes it easier for us to meet our fitness goals.
Thank you so much. That's always my goal, is to meet everyone where they are, to get us started, and then we improve from there.
Great. So we're going to close now, everyone. Thank you for coming. And I want to say that we will have a replay. There will be a recording of this. So if you've missed it, no problems, no worries. Just check in with the replay. And the thing too about that is, if you still have other comments or questions, put them in. We'll look for them over the next few days and respond to you. So here we are with Better Movement to Health, but I want folks to be able to find us, Tosh. So to find you, your LinkedIn profile you shared with me is best. And so there it is. There's the link to that. Also, for me, you can find me on my LinkedIn profile. And if you're here, you probably know where that is. And you could also email me. Remember, women's health nurse practitioner, certified in doing that, as well as certified health and life coach. And I love to support you in your movement goals. And I also, for the men who are going to join us, I put it somewhere, so I'm looking for it. Let me look for it. I had a link to your husband's LinkedIn profile, and I wanted to share that with everyone because let me put it over here, if I can get over here and see if that'll work. I was really impressed by his approach. He talks about the everyday athlete, that we all are everyday athletes. So Montel Harden, Tosh Harden, thank you, Tosh, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for the great interaction. Oh, thank you, the Leslies and Amber and the person from Ohio. We can't see your name. Thanks to everyone for joining us. We really appreciate you being here with us. So one day at a time, we will all get that, be there and get that done together, I would say. So once again, take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And we appreciate your participation and time.
Thank you all so much.
Bye-bye, everyone.